Okay, now we're going to get started on changing out the placeholder text and the rest of the website, as well as the font colors and the font type. It is exactly the same as changing out the header text and the font, but we will go a little bit more in depth than I did in the header video. But if you feel comfortable with what you learned and you feel like you can go ahead and just start changing out the text, feel free to move forward and move on to the next set of videos. Otherwise, let's get started. Okay, the first thing that you're going to want to do to start changing out the text is to hover over the area that you want to change. If you like some of the headings that are currently in your layout, feel free to just go ahead and leave those in there or change them out according to what fits your business and your branding. But like I said, feel free to leave that in there if you do like some of the heading. Definitely change out the body text throughout the layout because it is placeholder text. It's basically gibberish. Ad-lib some text or just something that is placeholder. So go ahead and hover over the heading area that you want to change out, and you'll notice that this is, if you click on the text box, that it is a heading 1. So we're going to go ahead and click over to the design tab. We're not going to do text because it isn't paragraph text, is heading text. So scroll down to the heading text tab, and you will see that it's currently set to Allura. We're going to go ahead and continue using that branding palette that I've been using, and we're going to change the heading text to Nothing You Could Do. So type it in at the top, or if it's already in your recently used fonts, just go ahead and pull from there. Click on that and you'll see that it automatically changed. You can play with the font weight if you wanted to make it darker. Some fonts have different selections available. This one only has bold and regular. So we'll go ahead and stick with that. We're going to go ahead and change out the heading text color to match the branding palette. So let's see what we have. You can pick from any of the colors in your branding palette. I'm going to go ahead and go with this carbon color like we have been using. So I'll go ahead and pull that hex color and select it, backspace it, and just type it in there. It didn't really change too much because it's similar to the last color that was in there, but if we wanted to change it to say red or blue or whatever other color you want to use, that's what it would look like. So once you are done changing out the color, you're going to want to scroll down, and you'll notice that the text that was there previously is a little bit larger than what it looked like before using the old font. So go ahead and play with that font size by clicking down on the button. It looks better at 45 pixels. And the spacing, again, is the space between the letters, and we can go ahead and adjust that depending on whatever font you're using or how you think it looks. Again, you want to go for the best readability possible. I'm not going to play with the heading line height. It looks good just as it is. Heading text shadow, you can add heading text shadow or text shadow to any of your text. The best place to use that is if you had a background color on there and the text was a little bit hard to read. You could play around with the shadow, it would make it stand out a little bit more. You can change how the shadow comes out. You can make it go further out. And if you wanted to go back to the original, you would just hit that little circle arrow button to revert back. You can change the vertical length so it goes down. It actually looks pretty cool. Or up. And again, to revert back, just hit that little circular revert button. And then you can change the blur length, strength. And then you can also change the text shadow color. So if I were to do that, I would go with, let's say, this cashmere pink color. Hit over the dropper, and it changed that heading text shadow color. Can't really see it now, so let's change it to a darker color. I'll change it to the plum, and you'll see that that showed up a lot better. So you can change out the transparency of it, make it darker or lighter. So I don't like using the text shadow very often, but this is the different options that you have. Again, you want to go for readability as well as the aesthetic quality. So what you think looks good may not be very readable, or what is readable may not look good. Try and find the balance with that using the default that's already in your layout, and then also the branding palette. So to revert back, you hit that circle button, or you can just click the circle with the arrow. So that is how you change out the heading text in any of the text areas. When you're done with what you did and you are ready to change, just hit Save Changes. Now, to change out the body text or the paragraph text in any of the areas, you just hover over. Some areas may have several different text boxes just depending on what was customized in that area. This one only has one, and I know that because when I scroll down, nothing else highlights. So click over the gearbox, and you'll see all of the text that is typed into this area. Alternatively, you can just highlight there and in the actual visual builder and change out the text by hovering over it and typing in. I prefer to use the text box in the text module. Oh, and to get that back, I just press Control Z. If you ever make a mistake, you can press Control Z, or you can press the purple back button or the blue redo button. So you're going to want to change out the text in here. This is an About Me section up at the top. This is where you'll talk about your business, what you're all about, and something that will draw people in and want to work with you. You'll really want to talk up your business here. Try to keep it about this length. If you put too much, people really are going to have a hard time wanting to sit there and read it. And so just try and make it concise and as clear as possible about your business. So to change the text color and the font for this area, you're going to click over to the Design tab. Very similar to the heading text. It's actually exactly the same. We're going to change that text font to match the branding palette, and the font that we're currently using for the body text in this one is I just forgot, so I'll look at the branding palette, is Roboto Thin. So we will type it in. And again, if you remember from the previous video, we're going with the Roboto Light instead because it looks better, it's more readable. If you wanted to play with the style, you could change all of the styles. You can make it italics with drop caps and underline and strike through if you wanted to be super extra. I am going to undo all of that. Text color, same way. You just hover over the text color area, click in it, and then change out the hex color. I'm going to stick with the monochromatic look. I'm going to stick with that carbon color, but feel free to change out to match your branding palette. If you were to change it to something like red, it would look like that, and blue, and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it that carbon color. And scroll down to text size. This looks really good. It looks really readable. The only thing I think I'm going to change is the text letter spacing. So that is what that looks like. If you wanted to change the text orientation, you would just click accordingly. So that's what that looks like. We don't have to play with anything else in here. Later videos, I will go over some more advanced functions, but for the purpose of what we are doing in the text box, that is how you update the content and the text in all of the text module areas. So there you go. Next, so be sure to save your draft or save the changes that you made down here in the right hand corner. And next up, I'm going to show you how to bulk edit sections so you can do multiple areas in one easy step. So let's get started on that.